r/AskReddit. Women. What's something men think is creepy and offensive, but in reality women find it normal or cool? Texting or calling shortly after a date. We live in a world with a constant flow of communication. It is not abnormal to message me a couple hours after we parted ways to say hey, I had a good time. Don't overdo it. But anyone who gets annoyed that you contacted them so soon after the date isn't really worth your time anyway. I actually think it's cute when a guy texts me right after a date. It shows interest. I texted my wife my entire way home from our first date. We set up the second date during that convo. Granted it was partly text me, so I know you didn't get murdered on the train, but it was still cool. If it's the right person, you'll know if you should text right after the date. Edit. And now my highest rated comment is this. TL. Doctor, if you think you've crossed a line, just ask about it and clear the air. I was once one of two women working in a construction situation. One of the older guys there was really salty. He'd make lots of crass jokes, but was really careful around me when I joined the crew. I assumed checking out how I'd take it. But one day he approached me from behind and gave my shoulders a friendly squeeze. I tensed up like crazy and shrugged him off, but didn't say anything or follow up. A short while later, on a smoke break, he found a moment to say, very cool and upfront, that he felt like he'd crossed a line with me and wanted to know what to do to make it right. First of all, I thanked him for bringing it up. I tend to avoid conflict and never would have said anything. Then I told him that he could say absolutely anything around me. I have a raunchy sense of humor and won't be offended by anything, but that I absolutely do not want to be touched at all. Everything was always perfect from then on. He knew exactly where my line was, and I super respected his straightforward question. Being straightforward in a timely manner is the correct way to handle things. The longer it sits in the back of anyone's mind just makes it worse and worse. There's a band called The Deer Hunter and I always think back to a line in one of their songs. Belated conversations saturate anticipation for an answer that simply won't come. I asked a girl for her number and she straight up said no. I literally just said okay, I understand. And then she gave me her number. I was terribly confused. She said she was impressed by how well I took it. Still confused. Edit. Makes a little more sense now that I read some of your replies. I get thanked when I'm rejected on dating sites and take it well. Never got a date from it, but apparently it's not common. Edit. Thought I'd add. This has happened 3 times in the years I've dated online. Ghosting is certainly the order of the day. At best, men will ask you to explain why you don't want to date them. Then if you do, they argue. Edit. Not all men do this, but many of them will. I think some men have this worry about walking behind me when I'm alone, especially when it's dark. Usually, I take a quick glance if I hear footsteps behind me. If it's a man, almost without fail, he will speed up to pass me or slow down to walk at a further distance in what I'm pretty sure is an effort to make sure I'm not afraid. Bunch of big sweethearts. I do exactly this. I don't want y'all to think I'm happy. I keep my distance. I do it because I feel ducking awkward following closely behind someone. Being upfront with your intentions. Edit. Also good to mention, while being upfront don't forget to have tact. Hi, I'd like to have the XPLS 1X coming right up. This post makes me want to give a shout out to the strange guy that complimented me inside a train station a few years back. You really did make my day. I still remember it years later. I was waiting for a connecting train, a 1-hour delay that got turned into an 8-hour delay. Ugh. Sitting in the cafe watching people outside. When a guy walks up to me, but keeping his distance. He stayed like 4 feet away from me, making eye contact and says, "Excuse me miss, I don't want to bother you or take up your time. I just wanted to say that I saw you in the window when I was walking by and wanted to come tell you that I think you look very pretty. Have a good day." Almost didn't give me a chance to say thank you before he walked away. It was incredibly nice to be complimented like that. He was straightforward, kept his distance, And true to his word, didn't take up much time at all. I told the person I was traveling to visit about this encounter. And he said he felt like I shouldn't have been so easy to accept a compliment like that. Like he thought it was creepy. Creepy. That's just too weird. It's the opposite of creepy. That's a genuine, no strings attached compliment. I get that guy friends can worry about their female friends with pushy men. But it seems the guy friend here was a smidge overprotective. This was actually my now ex-boyfriend that I was visiting at the time. Trying the long distance thing. His concern wasn't so much with my getting a compliment as it was the way I handled it. Apparently. He thought I should been more standoffish or something. He's an ex for a lot of reasons. I think a lot of men are worried that compliments on appearance are always unwelcome / creepy. You look great. From a stranger? Uncomfortable. Your hair looks nice today. From a coworker? Makes me smile. I guess the main thing is to be specific and make the compliment about something the woman has some control over. If that makes sense. Telling me I'm beautiful makes me uncomfortable because it's not something I perceive as being in control of. However, I once had a random guy on the sidewalk say, "Hey, I hope it's not too forward, but I like your style. You look really sharp. Have a nice day." And that was a welcome surprise. It's something I can control. I chose these clothes. I chose this hairstyle. I put thought and effort into what I was wearing. So it was nice for it to be recognized. Compliments on the body are uncomfortable. But compliments on my actions / tastes / abilities are welcome for the most part. So if I say, "Hey, nice rack," that's completely out. Right? Unless I just finished building a beautiful display rack. Then yes. Edit. Actually I have a funny story about that. In basic training. During an inspection the platoon chief inspected the girls' room and we all did a bang up job on making the beds. So, he stood in the doorway while we were all at attention and said, "Nice racks ladies." And we couldn't laugh because we were at attention. But his face turned bright red and he just quietly said, "Oh god," and left. It was great. My friends group has more guys in it than girls. So on game nights, I'll normally end up sitting next to guys on the couch or floor. I've noticed that all of my body parts are lava. If they accidentally brush my leg they'll have to shift over or lean the other direction. We don't have a big space with like 8-9 people over so these things happen. I don't know what that's really about. But we all finally just had a good laugh about it when I grabbed one of them in a hug and was like, "Chill, I won't bite." Men don't like to be perceived as creeps. So those that aren't creeps will try their best to show it. Maybe society teaching us to try and not seem like a threat. Same reason guys go out of their way to not walk behind a woman in the dark if they are headed in the same direction. I have literally gone out my way by like 15 minutes because I had taken the same bus, gone onto the same tube, and made the same change purely by coincidence. At a certain point I was just like, "Nah," and just took a turn and went some convoluted way home. This made me remember an encounter that could have gotten creepy real fast but surprisingly didn't. I'm at fast food restaurant just quickly getting lunch to bring back to the office. I'm waiting for my food and this guy, probably my age, comes up to me and says, "Hi, I'm so and so. How are you?" and extends his hand for a handshake. Caught totally off guard. I go into autopilot mode and say, "Hi, I'm Tabadimna Mermaid, and I'm good." I shake his hand. He replies with, "It's very nice to meet you, Tabadimna Mermaid. I just wanted that you seem like a confident girl who is also beautiful. Maybe we can get to know each other." Taken aback I tell him that I have a boyfriend, but I appreciated his politeness. Then the conversation ends with him saying, "Ah well, he's a very lucky guy. I hope you a wonderful rest of day." And then he shakes my hand again and leaves with his friends. It was so bizarre because he wasn't offended when I turned him down. He also didn't really objectify me and was genuinely polite. It made me feel so good. Well, as a man I learned early on whether or not they had a boyfriend was true. They aren't interested in you. You just move on to the next girl. Then after 50, 60 rejections, one girl responds positively I always have the problem of internalizing it like, oh hit. Did she lie to me because I smell like rancid taco meat? Even if I showered. Hit. Am I too nerdy? I always hold back so I don't scare off people. Hit. Do I look like shaved Chewbacca? Still do with short hair. Then I go home crying watching LOTR with a bottle of scotch. Edit. Explaining better. Initiating non-XL touch in a relationship. Reaching out to play with her hair. Brushing her back. Etc. It's lovely. Please do more of this. I didn't read the in a relationship part and was like hell. No. I missed that too. And was confused. Imaging a stranger walking up to me in Target. Pushing my hair behind my ear. Do you know where the paper towels are? No touchy. There was a local radio segment where a few women were chatting about how they wish a man would just walk up to them and confidently kiss them or sweep them off their feet like they used to in old movies. They couldn't understand when the male co-host told them that's essentially XL assault and could land them in jail. Cause in their head, it'd be a guy they actually desire and not someone they find disgusting. Step 1. Be attractive.